My wife, Natalie Earle. She's eating sauerkraut, practicing what she preaches as I introduce her. Natalie Earle is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner with a BS in physics. In 2013, she was diagnosed with prediabetes, skin issues, and severe PMS symptoms. In 2015, Natalie engaged in the GAPS diet, and in the subsequent years, she was able to reverse her prediabetes and put her other symptoms into remission. Over the last 8 years, Natalie has supported hundreds of clients with autoimmune disorders, cancer, PCOS, endometriosis, and nervous system disorders. I have my health to thank for the work of Natalie and her nutritional recommendations for me personally. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with her.
One more thing. Do you want to boost your energy, mental clarity, and focus in just 30 days? Click the link below so that you can download my free guide with 6 simple changes that are going to help you feel amazing and confident. And if you're ready to dive deeper and uncover the root causes of your symptoms, book your free 45-minute exploration call today at nutritionwithconfidence.com. All right, enjoy the interview.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about magnesium. I don't know a ton about magnesium, so I'm excited to get in the weeds on this one and talk about the importance of magnesium, the different forms of magnesium, why it's important. So let's start there. Why is magnesium important?
Yeah, a lot of my clients will ask me, Natalie, what are you taking? What supplements are you taking? And magnesium is on that list. Magnesium is one of those crucial, essential minerals and nutrients that all of our bodies are very deficient in a modern sense. This is because most of the food that we are eating now is considerably depleted in magnesium, and this is impacting our own nutrition. Magnesium is incredibly important in our body to convert vitamin D into the active form. So, a lot of people with vitamin D deficiency is really just because what's often tested is the active form of magnesium or of vitamin D. And if you're testing the active form and you have storage of vitamin D, but you are actually magnesium deficient, you might be missupplementing. You might be supplementing with vitamin D when you actually are just magnesium deficient. Magnesium is also incredibly important for energy metabolism. So think insulin resistance and your body's ability to burn energy, chronic fatigue syndrome. It's a major cofactor for utilizing B vitamins in our body, and this gives us energy. So, also, magnesium is necessary for detoxification. Most individuals that I see have health issues because of a toxin that they've been exposed to. So, when our bodies are exposed to toxins, this is a burden on the body, and this starts to deplete ourselves of specific nutrients that are used in the detox pathways in the liver and in the gut. And so, if we are laden with lots of toxins in our modern world, our body has to process that, and that is depleting our magnesium stores. Our magnesium levels are also used for the cardiovascular system, the circulatory system, our nervous system. It creates a calm, balanced sense of self. And it also is critical for our bone structure and our bone health in calcium management and supporting strong bones.
Well, you've talked me into it. Magnesium is important, folks. So there's a number of different types of magnesium. I know I use magnesium taurate. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but magnesium
Mm-hmm.
taurate, magnesium citrate. What are some of the other types? And I know it seems like magnesium is one of the more misunderstood supplements because there's these different
Yeah.
forms. Which one do I take? Is it important we speak a bit to this?
Yeah, so many people are just confused about what type of magnesium to take, or there's a lot of misunderstandings too, just about why people um, or whether or not people are taking the right forms. Like doctors will often prescribe magnesium, and it's not the right form for absorbability, and it's creating loose stools for the person, and they're actually not absorbing that magnesium. So when it comes to magnesium supplementation, it's very important to look at the two words that are associated, or the other word that's associated with the magnesium. So, like you just mentioned, there's magnesium taurate or there's magnesium citrate. So, we'll go through all of those forms in a little bit, but the importance here is to know that some of those forms are more bioavailable, which means that they can be utilized more in the body. They might actually be used by different systems in the body. And so there's also the absorption ability of these different types of magnesiums, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But those are the biggest reasons why I think some people don't even think about it. They're just like told, hey, take magnesium. Then they're going to go to the store, grab whatever magnesium, and then they might have a bad experience with it, mostly loose stools, because some of those magnesium forms might not be the right type for them and their digestive system and their full symptom picture.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because we'll use me as the guinea pig. When I first took magnesium citrate, I think it was,
Mhm.
I was one of those people who had the loose stools. Lucky me. We always have a running joke of how uh, I wish that I had more constipation throughout the years as we, went through these protocols and we had different detox reactions. Maybe sharing too much information here, but Natalie more in the direction of constipation, me more in the direction of loose stools, and I was always like, I wish that I was constipated.
Yeah, we always want the other person's symptoms.
Yeah,
Like, oh, you have
but
it better.
yeah,
No, nobody's got it better here.
yeah. But
Uh,
let's going back to magnesium citrate. Why do people like me have more loose stools when they take magnesium citrate? And for me, I ultimately started taking magnesium taurate instead, and I've had good experience with it. It's helped reduce my muscle cramps that I was contending with. So could you speak a bit to that?
yeah, yes. So, uh, the best form of magnesium for absorbability is really actually topically through our skin. I'm going to talk about this first before I talk about citrate, because there is a real use for citrate magnesium, but that is something you take orally. But this is why whenever we go to the ocean, the reason why we go the magnesium absorption through the skin is so powerful, and it's really optimal. And if you think about when you go to the ocean, you feel super relaxed, and you feel so good.
Well,
There's tons of minerals in the ocean
mm,
water, and that's where a lot of the magnesium comes from that we can still get, is being in the ocean. So
mm.
whenever you can get in salt, ocean water, that is really good to get some improvements in magnesium
Quick side
stores.
note on that: don't let the cold water keep you from getting in the ocean, folks. Whenever we're by the coast, we always get in the ocean. We're just in Maine, and it was
Yes.
cold, 40 some degree water. We hopped in. We felt good. We
Yes.
felt alive. You get the benefits of cold exposure. So, little
Yeah.
plug for the
Yeah.
deliberate cold exposure there.
Yeah. So there are actually ways to use topical magnesium. And this form of topical magnesium is called magnesium chloride. It's in the form of oils or gels or lotions, magnesium lotions that you can rub on your skin. And it is helpful for more localized issues like muscle cramps. But because of its absorbability being as high as some of this, there's not a consensus of percentage. It's really difficult to actually pin down absorbability for, it's very independent to each person, but the ranges are between 50 to 100% for magnesium chloride. And this is just the highest. So it will be absorbed into the bloodstream and will be helping all of the other forms body systems in your body, and can balance the other forms of magnesium that you're taking. So, so then the next form of magnesium that I would say is a very important form that most of my clients will use is magnesium glycinate or bisglycinate. These are actually interchangeable, so it's the same magnesium. Bisglycinate is actually just the more accurate term for the biochemical structure. Anyways, this form of magnesium is magnesium paired with like a glycine or glycinate. Glycine is an amino acid that's really supportive to the nervous system. So this form is also pretty highly available, bioavailable, and it's helpful for mood and detox support. It helps calm the nervous system, and at the same time, this form, the percentage of absorption is much lower. So we were talking about 50, 100% for magnesium chloride. For glycinate, it is, 20 to 40%, maybe, depending on the person. So then we have magnesium citrate, and I like to use citrate or oxide, magnesium citrate or oxide for bowel tolerance to help people with with constipation. So these two forms are I think interchangeable. They both have a very low absorption rate. They mostly are used to draw water into the bowels to help with constipation. So that's really helpful. I'd say if you've tried citrate and it doesn't feel good because it's too quote unquote explosive, some of my
Good one.
clients will will literally say it like that. Then you might want to try magnesium oxide, because it's really 50% of people do well with one or the other, and you just have to figure out your balance of it. You might actually do well with a combination of the two to help with really the constipation. We use that really primarily, this form, as a band-aid. Really, it is mostly a band-aid for constipation, but we need to get the bowels moving, and then we can stack it with another form to help with getting after the deep-seated root of magnesium deficiency, which is leading to the constipation in the um, long term. We'll get after that,
Get to the
deficiency.
root. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
And what do you, just as a side note there, what is typically at the root? Are we talking leaky gut? What's at the root of that
yes,
deficiency?
great question. I think it majorly comes down to two things: toxins in our diet, and the microbiome disruption, along with leaky gut. So that's kind of the second one is
Okay.
leaky gut microbiome. We're just not absorbing our nutrients from the food that we are eating.
And
So
I got to go on a quick rant about the toxins in our food. I was just looking up this statistic in the European Union. They have banned over 1,300 chemicals. So that includes pesticides, herbicides that are sprayed on the foods we're eating. It also includes toxins in cosmetics that we're putting on our clothes, household cleaning, and we are absorbing that through our skin, right? You're talking
yes,
right here about how we can supplement with magnesium topically, and how that is, the literature shows that's been the most effective way to get magnesium in us. So when we're putting these lotions, these sunscreens, these
mm-hmm.
shampoos, these household goods, really be conscious about what you're putting on your
On your
body, in
skin.
your home, around you, because in the European Union, 1,300 chemicals are over 1,300 are banned. In the United States, we've banned 13.
Yeah, it's
13
ridiculous.
chemicals.
It's a joke.
So there are a group of intelligent people in the European Union have decided there are over 1,200 and what is that? 87 chemicals more than us that should
Yeah,
not be exposed to humans. That's why we feel so good when we go to Europe,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
It's a
largely a
huge
chemical thing. There's other
relief.
variables as well, but
Absolutely.
We need some major policy change here in the United States.
Yeah.
Anyways, side tangent.
We'll get back to the forms.
So one of the root causes, right? And this is what you work with your clients on. This is what we've worked on together as a couple the last decade plus of our relationship is like, how do we get all of these, mitigate these toxins as much as possible in
Mm-hmm.
the household, in the foods we're eating. So
That's a
had to
huge
go on
part of
that
it.
rant a bit.
I love it. Thank you. So, another form is magnesium malate. So, this is magnesium attached to malic acid. And malic acid, especially, can be really helpful for fibromyalgia, muscle aches and pains, and kind of cramping in the muscles. So, that is a form that works pretty quickly. You will notice within 4 weeks if this is the magnesium for you for that type of muscle cramping that you're taking. But it can also be a little hard on this on the bowels. So if you are prone to loose stools like this guy, he also did not do as well with magnesium malate when we were trying to get the right magnesium for him for his muscle cramps. That form didn't work, but it does work for a lot of people, and it could be a good combo if you are more prone to constipation. The magnesium malate is the one for you, and if you get the muscle cramps. So, magnesium.
Got to
Oh,
pause you again. Another quick
yeah.
question. For those of us who do the ketogenic diet,
Mm.
carnivore diet, and we get muscle cramps, some of us will tell the story, this diet just doesn't work for me. What do we do? Could you speak uh,
A little bit like that.
generally to what is happening there,
Yeah.
and then steps to take if you fall in that camp as you're trying animal-based carnivore ketogenic diet and you experience the muscle cramps?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening there is that on a low carbohydrate diet, your body is not retaining water. And so when we go low carb, the body is going to lose a lot of water and you're going to lose a lot of electrolytes. But actually, what's more so common is that when we have high carbohydrates in our diet, it's actually masking the underlying electrolyte imbalances that you already have. So then when we go low carb and we do lose a little bit, mostly salt, we'll just lose mostly salt. So then it's just illuminating all of the other mineral imbalances that your body has or had to begin with. And so that ketogenic low carb diet is not causing the cramps, it is illuminating this issue. And so you do want to replenish though, because this is an underlying issue of absorption and really it's cell barrier disruption, which is caused by a lot of toxins. If we're going back to toxins again, it's every cell is going to allow electrolytes in and out. And if that's not working very well, it's because of disruption. And that's going to impact your electrolyte balance, and cramps and are a very common symptom of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
That's helpful. And I think there's a few more types of magnesium forms that you want to talk about. Okay.
Yeah. So magnesium taurate is the next form. That is magnesium connected to a taurine amino acid. So, this form is particularly helpful for heart health, and also because taurine is a great amino acid for the heart. It's also really important for muscle cramps, too. So, taurine is really helpful for muscle and energy and gallbladder function. So, it can help a lot with the electrolyte balance with the muscle cramping as well. And that's the one that
That's the
ended up
one that's been
working the
helpful
best.
for me.
It's
I
very
take it every night,
Mhm.
and it has pretty much completely eradicated the muscle cramps that I was contending with.
And what I like it for you especially is people who are prone to loose stools often need some more gallbladder and liver support, and taurine is really good for the gallbladder. It's going to help with making sure bile flow is really optimal, so you're not getting really like a lot of loose stools, which is commonly from just an overactive bile flow there. So
Okay.
supporting that with the magnesium taurate form, you get the magnesium and you get the taurine. And then magnesium threonate is another favorite of mine. This one is particularly effective for mental mental health issues and brain health, with neurological symptoms, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, uh, any kind of traumatic brain injuries. Those kinds of things can do well with magnesium threonate because it passes the blood brain barrier. Now, at the same time, the threonate is a little bit more excitatory. So, in some cases, some people will not do as well with that. And then there are a lot of other common forms that are found, but I use these less. I use them orally less. Another form that I'll just mention briefly is magnesium succinate. And this is succinate, uh, um, is the form of a amino acid that is used in the Krebs cycle. So it's really good for mitochondrial dysfunction. Harder to find just as an individual magnesium supplement, but it is found in the breakthrough magnesium supplement, that I will often use. It's just a combination of different magnesium. So that's a good go-to.
Yeah.
Little tip. And then the other form, though, that I use all the time, actually, but we wouldn't use it orally as much, is Epsom salts. This is magnesium sulfate. So it's paired with sulfate, which is a sulfur compound that is really important for detoxification. So nightly Epsom salt baths are a regular for a lot of my clients when we're going through a lot of detox. And yeah, those are the major forms. And I'm sure we could get into, I don't know, dosages for them. But I think generally speaking, we want to, you want to find your own dose, for you. And this is really just, most people are so deficient in magnesium. The recommended daily amounts, is only like 400 or 500 milligrams, which you're likely not getting actually in your food at all. So, on the bare minimum, we want to do 200 to 400 milligrams supplementation. But most of the time for my clients, we need to do extra. We need to go to bowel tolerance. We need to get up to maybe even 1,000 milligrams to get after that deep rooted deficiency state.
Yeah. And this is where working with someone like Natalie, her colleague Alex, Morley Robbins does consultations as well, and he's one of the leading experts in magnesium,
Yes.
copper deficiency, mineral balancing, and that sort of thing. So really taking advantage of working with a practitioner that can look at your specific case. That's best practice, I would
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
But all that's great starting place for folks, and
Hmm.
so a lot of the people who consult you are pretty sensitive, right? They've
Hmm.
uh, kind of reached maybe a pinnacle of the worsening of their symptoms. They're kind of in the low of lows with what they're contending with, very sensitive to all sorts of things. Are there any considerations with some of these magnesium supplementation? I mean, I know we've talked about my experience a bit.
Yeah.
If you go towards loose stools, being conscious about which forms of magnesium you're taking. Outside of
Hmm.
that, any other advice there?
Yeah. Yeah. So we always want to go very slowly, especially with the magnesium citrate and oxide forms, because they can drastically impact your stools. You want to start with a small amount. So, a common supplement out there, Natural Calm, is a magnesium citrate. I don't think it actually it says magnesium carbonate on the back of it, but when the carbonate hits the water, it turns into citrate, actually. So that's like the coolness of science. The magnesium citrate is you're gonna, with that particular supplement, you want to go slow. I think that the dosage they say is 1 teaspoon. I would start with maybe a quarter teaspoon or a half a teaspoon, especially if you're very sensitive. And oxide is the same. If you take too much of it at once, um, then you're gonna have multiple stools, in the day, and it can feel very uncomfortable. So the best way to go about it is, you can either choose to take the magnesium at night or in the morning, and start with a small dose and each day, if you don't have a stool if this is for constipation, if you don't have a stool each day, you're going to increase it by another like half a teaspoon or another quarter teaspoon, whichever you started with. And you'll get to your dose. So there's a bit of a catch up period for your body to get used to it for the first 3 days. So a lot of my clients will go a little overboard. It's just common. Everybody does it. You'll get to like maybe 1 teaspoon. That's working for a while. And then it just feels like way too loose. So then you can back off. So always give it about, a week or so on those forms to kind of play with your dosage, but be strategic about it. And then I mentioned that the magnesium threonate, if you are using that too much, the dosage is usually 3 capsules at night. This is the Magteen kind of trademarked magnesium. It is the excitatory kind of compound. So if you're very sensitive with nervous system disrupt hypersensitivities, like MCAS, dysautonomia, those kinds of things, you might want to use a different, more calming effect, like magnesium glycinate first, and then or switch around and kind of do a combination of magnesium and less of the threonate, so you're not creating this kind of imbalance in the brain that's too activating for you. So those are the most common issues that we see. And then I also will see that people will consume magnesium alone without any other minerals. So all minerals are very complex in their nature of how they interact with each other. So that often magnesium and calcium, they balance each other out. So if you are taking magnesium for a pretty long time and only magnesium, eventually you might need to actually make sure you're getting enough calcium as well. So the calcium can come from food, and that's fine. You don't have to supplement with calcium, but you do want to make sure your calcium levels are balanced there, or reduce the dosage of magnesium, switch to a different form, so that you're not depleting your body of calcium too much. After like years of supplementing magnesium, that this issue can happen, but it's not common. Most people have fine calcium levels, and calcium is actually more of a boron issue. So if you are getting too depleted in calcium, you want to look at boron for yourself.
Okay. So you touched on this a bit. Magnesium glycinate helps calm the nervous system. We have magnesium citrate that is helpful for people that
Constipation.
for constipation. We've got magnesium malate for muscle aches and pains. Magnesium taurate for the muscle cramping, heart health. That's me. Or if you normally go towards having loose stools, this is one that is a good one to look towards. The magnesium threonate for brain health, dementia prevention, mental health. And are there any other considerations when clients come to you presenting in a certain way, dealing with certain symptoms in particular? Are there any other considerations people should think about when choosing which magnesium to supplement with?
Yeah. So when I'm working with clients, I will mostly be looking at their B vitamin deficiencies as well, in combination with magnesium, because they are cofactors to each other. A lot of the time, there's a B6 deficiency in people with a common. I have this questionnaire that I have all of my clients do, which helps me rule out a common condition called pyroluria. And this is where your body will not have the enzymes to properly absorb magnesium, zinc, and B6. So all 3 of those nutrients will be very deficient in those individuals. A lot of the symptoms are with that condition are, family histories of mental health issues, and things like bipolar, a long list of other kinds of symptoms that put you in that risk for magnesium, zinc, and B6 deficiencies. So I'm going to really focus on the full body, picture of not just their major goals. Like, okay, a lot of clients will come to me, yeah, constipation is their main issue, and they're going to think, oh, magnesium citrate, I just need to take magnesium citrate. But that is just the band-aid, right? So we're also going to be thinking big picture. Why else is there a constipation issue? The microbiome is a big issue. So we're going to be working on the microbiome at the same time, and we're going to be supplementing later on, maybe stacking the other forms of magnesium that they will also need, like glycinate or the topical magnesium, to really get after that deep-rooted deficiency. And I'm, yeah, again, looking at the big picture of the person's clinical state. And oftentimes, one of the nutrients I'll use the most with my clients is B1. This is thiamine. And thiamine, when we supplement with it, it actually increases our need for magnesium and potassium. So we will also be looking at that cofactor of potassium to make sure that we're utilizing these B vitamins really effectively for really mostly energy metabolism. That's the fatigue issue that almost all my clients are dealing with. So we'll work on that.
Yeah. And then talking a bit about food, which foods are highest in magnesium? I know that there's always the consideration with our conversation earlier about the heavy pesticide
Mhm.
use in the United States, the depleted soil due to practices like tilling. Not for those of us that
Mhm.
don't live next to the ocean and can't absorb all that magnesium naturally.
Yeah.
What are some foods that are typically high in magnesium that
Mhm.
someone can focus on consuming?
Typically, those are going to be the dark leafy greens are very high, like broccoli, collards, arugula. A lot of the root vegetables can be helpful too. Uh, then I always am going to organ meats as a major staple for repleting those nutrients, and then mostly, though, it's the lifestyle that we have to work on to absorb that magnesium through the skin. I would say there's also nuts and seeds and legumes that are often touted. The nuts and seeds, though, are that magnesium is mostly bound from absorption unless you are properly preparing those types of foods. You're not getting that magnesium. So I know that if you go and Google it, you're gonna get nuts and seeds, like soybeans, even like things that I don't actually typically recommend because that that magnesium is not bioavailable.
That's funny when you said organ meats. I just thought of Liver King. We just watched the Liver King documentary on Netflix. Highly
Fascinating.
recommend it. Really, really good documentary. And he used to say, "Why eat vegetables when you can eat testicles?" And he's changed it now to something along the lines of, "I like to eat vegetables and
Oh
testicles."
my God.
So he's come to see things more similar to us. We're very much so not people to just villainize all vegetables and plant foods,
Yeah.
or the opposite of villainizing all meat. The truth is, for all of us, a healthy, wholesome diet
Mhm.
ends up being somewhere in the middle. For us, it is more animal based, but obviously we're loving the arugula this time of year. We love to have salads this time of year as the
Asparagus.
temperatures get hot. Asparagus,
Yes.
broccoli, cauliflower. So
Hmm.
eat the vegetables and the testicles is what I'm saying.
And let me be more clear too with the types of organs that are highest in magnesium.
Is
I'm
it
not
not
sure. I
testicles?
don't think
Okay,
I don't
maybe
typically
not testicles.
recommend testicles, I will say.
I've only eaten them once. I think you do.
Chicken, you've had chicken
Chicken
testicles?
testicles,
Yeah.
that's it. I'd like to have
Oh my goodness.
more just to try it.
So everyone's going to be like, "Oh no."
Yeah. But what are some
I
of the organ meats in specific
Yes.
that do
So
have magnesium?
the organ meat that stands out right now that I'm thinking of is actually thymus or
Oh,
sweetbreads. It's very high in magnesium and potassium, so I would go for that, and then I think kidney is as well, and of course liver does have a good amount, but
no,
it's not as high as I would hope.
no.
Also, think seafood. Oysters have a lot of zinc and other minerals like manganese and magnesium too, but again, probably not the highest, it's not the highest mineral in those foods, but definitely great sources and bioavailable sources,
Yeah.
especially with seafood, because
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
good.
the ocean, right?
Yeah, seafood's awesome. And
The
let me
ocean.
briefly talk about the organs. I've tried most of them, thanks to Natalie, or maybe not thanks to Natalie. But yeah, so liver was really hard for me when I first started eating it. But just do your best. Uh,
Yeah.
I found that some liver, we had bison liver one time, and
Hmm.
I really enjoyed it. It was amazing. So I think the quality of the animal, if it was grass fed, grass finished,
Hmm.
makes a difference. Again, I love that bison liver, and then yeah, just having it in small amounts, sneaking it into your ground beef. There's some really cool companies. Force of nature.
Yes,
For,
force of nature.
Force of nature. They mix the liver and heart into their ground beef. You can't even taste it. So, and then there's supplementation as well. But then also the sweetbreads, the thymus. At first, I was like, what are these things? Never heard of this. And once I tried it, it's not terrible. It's
It's
and
great.
it's like that's the whole ethos of honoring the animal, eating nose to tail if you can. So,
Yeah.
highly recommend incorporating this into
Hmm.
your diet. All these organ meats. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Fabulous. Enjoy. I hope you guys find the right magnesium form for you. And if you need help at all, just reach out. We are here to walk you through the big picture of your health.
All right. Thank you, everyone.